Brian, I'll start with you because, as expected, Libra came up once again. The cryptocurrency that Facebook is planning as part of its Libra project.
Yeah.
I don't know that anything different came out of the hearing today in terms of him just reiterating, yes, this is something we need to look at.
Yeah, and I think for what it's worth, he kind of backed up on the idea that the Federal Reserve or other regulators have really a plan at the moment to deal with this. And I think that's because we don't really know exactly what Libra looks like, but you're kind of hearing all these questions because lawmakers are trying to form an opinion about how Congress should deal with this as well. This is not just a single prong issue that one regulator is going to be able to deal with. And actually, Powell said during the hearing that that's one of the biggest issues here, is that we don't have a single regulator. There is no single cryptocurrency regulator in the United States. It's kind of a piecemeal of the SEC, the CFTC, the banking regulators, FinCEN kind of getting involved there. And for what's worth, the FSOC, which is kind of, without getting into the nitty gritty, it's kind of the Justice League of financial regulators, if you will, that the Fed is a part of. Apparently, they actually have explored this issue. Apparently, there was a meeting last week where they talked about this. So, there's a discussion right now, and Powell is acknowledging that, but he's saying, look, there's no reason why we should think that there's a regulatory framework that we'll see even within the next 12 months or so. This is very much going to be a slow process, and regulators like the Federal Reserve will continue to kind of work through it.
Well, and he specifically said yesterday, let's not rush through this, but at the same time, if you're going to actually try and halt this thing from launching, then it does become a little bit of a rush job, because Facebook and its other partners, and let's remember, there are 30 founding members. This isn't just Facebook. I know everyone is framing it that way. That's understandable. They're framing it as Facebook's cryptocurrency. But what all these companies have said is they'd like to launch halfway through 2020. That is not so far away. So if these lawmakers, and I think many of them are just kind of towing the company line right now. They're saying, yes, we're very concerned, and it can't move forward unless our concerns are handled. But if these lawmakers actually want to halt it from launching, then they really do need to dive right in. And it does need to sort of become urgent.
And there's the question, too, about how systemic is this going to be, right? I mean, in general, you would probably expect a Fed chair for a random cryptocurrency to say, yeah, we're not going to really opine on this.
But
he's been fielding a lot of these questions because of the fact that Facebook is so large. And he said that he could see a scenario where it is systemically important to the financial system if the amount of adoption is so high because of the fact that Facebook is such a widely used platform. So
well, and also,
that's worth watching.
I know it's obvious, but it still bears mentioning. I mean, all of this is happening because of everything that's gone on with Facebook in the last 2 years. I mean, if this was any other big tech company right now, yes, maybe we'd still be talking about it as a concern. Oh, the company's so powerful, its reach is so wide that we need to be careful about letting this company do a cryptocurrency. But because it's Facebook specifically, that's why all the lawmakers are hopping on board. I mean, come on.
Let's get to sort of the reason why he's there, his raison d'etre, generally monetary policy, right? What stood out to you from his comments today on that front?
Well, nothing particularly new. I was hoping for a little bit more interesting tidbits because the fact that we got inflation numbers also this morning and jobless claim numbers, but he said the same thing, which is that the Fed will act as appropriate. That was part of the opening statement, but kind of an interesting little slip that maybe he had. He said, I think we have signaled and central banks around the world are seeing weakness everywhere, and they're also providing more accommodation also. Maybe, so I don't know if that was the language, right?
Perhaps we're going to get some more
and he has said that we've signaled that we're interested in doing that. That's not, a crazy thing. I mean, they acknowledged in the June 19 meeting that, a rate cut would be on the table. Some members said they see up to 50 basis points of cuts by the end of this year. But at the same time, he did say that, they're being data dependent. Is there still a case to raise rates? Well, if the data says so, right? So, again, we're kind of feeling our way around, but, interesting that he said also.
Yes. Well, whatever he said was enough to help, keep the markets up in today's session.
And in a way, that's the irony, isn't it? Because, okay, if things are troubling enough, we'll cut rates, but then when you signal a rate cut, we're off to the races and the markets go up. So
yes, well, the punch bowl is still amply filled, I suppose, is the message, is the bottom line. And that's enough to send the Dow above 27,000, right?